Hare Krishna, my friends. Haribo, how are you? Hope everyone's doing well and your spiritual life is blossoming just like spring all around us. Well, it's Friday night and we're here in Bhaktiville reading Nectar of Devotion, diving deeper again into the various symptoms of bhakti. We're reading chapter 32, Symptoms of Continuous Ecstasy. You can find that on page 279 of the book or page 316 of the PDF. But before we get into that, let's offer our obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Iti Namane. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at His lotus feet. And to all the devotees, Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like desire trees and can fulfill the desires of everyone. They are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. All right, let's get started. Page 316 of the PDF, or what did I say? Page 279 of the book. Chapter 32. Kandita's online. Perfect timing. Chapter 32, Symptoms of Continuous Ecstasy. The continuous ecstasy of love can remain like a powerful king, subduing all temporary manifestations of love, as well as any opposing elements of anger. It can be exhibited directly or indirectly, and thus ecstatic love can be described as direct or indirect. These symptoms of ecstatic love are possible only when one is fully situated in a transcendental position. Direct ecstatic love can be divided into two groups, namely selfish and selfless. When non-contradictory symptoms of ecstatic love are distinctly manifest, any contradictory symptoms create a sense of abomination. Contradictory ecstatic love is called selfish. That ecstatic love which can adjust all contradictory or non-contradictory symptoms is called direct selfless love. These selfless symptoms can again be divided into 5 groups: neutrality, servitude, fraternity, parenthood, and conjugal love. So you'll note there that those are the 5 different rasas. Neutrality, servitude, fraternity, parenthood, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sorry. And conjugal love. Counting. Okay, back to the text. Such ecstatic love assumes a particular mode in contact with different objects of love. Neutrality can be further subdivided into general, transparent, and peaceful. An attraction for Krishna by the people in general, or by children, cannot take any specific or satisfactory position. It can be manifest sometimes in trembling of the body, and changing of the color of the eyes to red, white, etc., although there is no symptom of any particular affection. One old man was told by a young man, quote, "Oh, Hare Krishna, Kandita," that's not what he said. Quote, "Just see how this child, only 3 years old, is so jubilant. Simply by seeing Krishna, he is running so swiftly, making a tumultuous sound. Just see." End quote. This is an instance of neutral ecstatic love in the heart of a child, without any specific subdivision. Due to the different types of attraction for Krishna, there are different varieties of devotees. Their symptoms are manifested transparently, just like jewels. It is said that a great devotee Brahmana would sometimes address the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Master, and sometimes he would joke with the Lord, using different kinds of familiar words, Sometimes he would protect the Lord with a filial affection, and sometimes he would cry out to the Lord, addressing him as his beloved. And sometimes he would meditate on the Lord as the Supersoul. This means that the Brahmana expressed his ecstatic loving symptoms in different ways at different times. But in each instance, because of ecstatic love, the Brahmana merged himself in the ocean of happiness and became situated in pure love. Thus, he was a transparent medium, like a jewel that shows reality in varying colors according to its own nature. When the great sage Narada was glorifying the pastimes of the Lord with his Veena, the four Kumaras, headed by Sanaka, although merged in the impersonal conception of Brahman, were trembling all over. Another devotee once exclaimed, quote, "Although I can achieve liberation simply by serving the devotees, my mind is still very much anxious to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose bodily complexion is just like a dark cloud." End quote. When a devotee is so anxious to contact the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that can also be accepted as a symptom of neutral love. Generally, a devotee of Lord Krishna can be placed into one of three groups. One group consists of those who are completely dependent on the merciful affection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Another group consists of devotees who are dealing with Krishna on friendly terms. And the third group consists of those who are dealing with Krishna as his superior, with parental affection. These three classes of devotees gradually develop different relationships of transcendental mellow with the personality of Godhead. When the attraction for Krishna is based only on one particular humor, that is called kevala, or pure state. One in this pure state of devotional service gradually develops the desire to follow in the footsteps of an eternal associate of Krishna. For example, to follow in the footsteps of Rasala, the personal attendant of Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan, or to follow Krishna's friends like Sridham or Sudama, or to follow Nanda and Yashoda, devotees in parenthood. Ecstatic love for Krishna is never manifested directly with Krishna himself. The devotee has to follow in the footsteps of the eternal association of Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. And Greece says, like his cowherd friends, yes. Sridhama and Sudama are his cowherd friends, yes. When transcendental humors in relationship with Krishna become mixed, for example, when the relationships with Krishna in friendship, servitorship, and parental love become mixed together, the result is called mixed humor or flavor. Bhaktivinoda says, is he a cowherd friend too? Balaram? Balaram's his brother, and Balaram has very similar relationships with people as Krishna does. Is he a cowherd friend? He does play with the cowherd boys, but like I said, he has similar relationships with people as Krishna does. Um, Neutral servitorship, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love. So Balaram has those similar kinds of relationships also. Yes, kind of like Radha and Krishna. I don't really know too much about, I don't know too many examples of his, I don't know any examples of his relationships, but I do know that he has those relationships with people as Krishna does. But as guru, no, friends, lovers, parents, he can be a way to Krishna like Radha, yes. Prabhupada is saying here, the devotee has to follow in the footsteps of the eternal associates of Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. So in that way, he can do that. Yes, he does also represent Guru. Anything else? Okay. All right, so mixed. The result is called a mixed humor or flavor. Such mixed transcendental flavors are manifested by such devotees as Uddhava, Bhima, and Mukura, the personal attendant of Mother Yashoda. Although devotional humors are sometimes found in mixtures, a particular humor is always found to be prominent and a constant factor. That prominent humor is to be accepted as the devotee's main relationship with Krishna. For example, Uddhava is in relationship with Krishna as a friend, but in Uddhava's character, a trace of servitude to Krishna is also visible. Such friendship is called friendship in reverence. The friendship typified by Sridham and Sudama, however, is the standard of friendship without any tinge of reverence. And Greece comments, Radharani is the gatekeeper to Krishna's heart, after all. There you go. The next section is subordinate ecstatic love. The devotees who always think of Krishna as a superior are in subordinate ecstatic love. To such a devotee, the concept of inferiority to the Lord is very prominent, and he rarely takes interest in any other kind of transcendental loving humor with the Lord. In the Mukundamala Stotra, compiled by King Kulashekara, one of the prayers says, quote, My dear Lord, you are the deliverer of living entities from the hellish condition of materialistic life, but that does not matter to me. Whether I am elevated to the heavenly platform or remain on this earthly planet or am dispatched to some hellish planet, that does not matter to me at all. My only prayer is that at the time of my death, and I may simply remember your two beautiful feet, which are just like lotus flowers, fructifying during the autumn season. Next section is friendship. As far as friendship is concerned, those high-grade devotees who are almost like Krishna are considered to be great authorities in the modes of friendly relations with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. On that friendly platform, there are different kinds of laughing and joking conversations. An example of such a friendly relationship with Krishna is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, when Krishna was once thinking, quote, Today, while I was engaged in tending the cows in the pasturing ground of Vrindavan, I went to collect some flowers in a beautiful garden. At that time, my friends, the cowherd boys, were unhappy even to tolerate a 2-minute separation from me. And when they found me, there was competition between us as to who would touch the other first with the flowers we had in hand. End quote. One friend criticized Krishna thus, quote, My dear Damodar, although you have been defeated by Sridama and have become sufficiently minimized in strength, by a false expression of strength, you have somehow covered your shameful condition of defeat. End quote. The next section is parenthood or superiority. When Mother Yashoda heard that Krishna's cows were being forcibly moved by the strong servants of Kamsa, and that the tender cowherd boys were trying to protect their cows, she began to think, quote, How can I protect these poor boys from the invasion of Kamsa's servants? End quote. This is an instance of a superior attitude in a devotee. As soon as Mother Yashoda found her son Krishna returning from the pasturing ground, she immediately began to pat him, touching her fingers to the cheeks of the Lord. which is what I do to my grandson every time I see him. Pat his little cheeks. All right, new chapter, chapter 33, conjugal affection. Above even the humor of love between Krishna and his parents is the relationship of conjugal love. This is exhibited between the Lord and the young gopis in different ways, glancing, moving the eyebrows, speaking very sweet words, and exchanging smiles. There is a statement in the Govinda Vilasa to this effect. Quote, Srimati Radharani was looking for Krishna very anxiously and almost disappointedly. End quote. When there is such indirect expression of conjugal love, there is smiling, astonishment, enthusiasm, lamentation, anger, dread, and sometimes ghastliness. These 7 exchanges of conjugal love form another state of ecstatic love. In a direct relationship of conjugal love, there is laughter, astonishment, chivalry, lamentation, anger, and dread, but there is no ghastliness. These expressions are considered to be the great reservoirs of pleasure. When these 7 kinds of ecstatic loving exchanges are manifested, they attain the status of steadiness by which the taste of conjugal love expands. The next section is laughter. After he had stolen some curd from the pots of 2 gopis, Krishna told one of his gopi friends, quote, My dear beautiful friend, I can take oath that I have not stolen even a drop of curd from your pot, but still your friend, Radharani, is very shamelessly smelling the flavor of my mouth. Kindly forbid her from this devious policy of putting her face near mine. End quote. When Krishna was speaking like this, the friends of Radharani could not check their laughter. This is an instance of ecstasy in conjugal love. The next section is astonishment. Once Brahma was watching all the cows and the cowherd boys dressed in yellow garments and decorated with valuable jewels. The boys were expanding their 4 arms and were being worshipped by many hundreds of other Brahmas. All the cowherd boys began to express their joyfulness for being with Krishna, the supreme Brahman. At that time, Brahma showed his astonishment by exclaiming, What am I seeing here? This is an instance of astonishment in ecstatic love. Kandita, I have a question for you. So, do you think that the paragraph that we just read is when Brahma kidnapped the cowherd boys? Bhakti Mimula says maybe. Kandita, what do you think? She may be away from the key AFK. That's okay. I will keep going. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Anyway, the next section is chivalry. On the bank of the Yamuna, once there was the crackling sound of dry leaves, giggling from the cowherd boys, and thundering from the sky. Sri Dama was tightening his belt to fight with Krishna, the conqueror of the demon Aga. This is an instance of chivalry in ecstatic love. Next section is lamentation. In the 10th canto, 7th chapter, 22nd verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a description of Krishna's being taken away by the whirlwind demon Trinavrata. As Krishna was being thus carried up into the sky, all the gopis began to cry aloud. They approached Mother Yashoda, stating that they could not find the son of Nanda. He had been taken away by a whirlwind. This is an instance of lamentation in ecstatic love. I think I'd be more than lamenting. I think I'd be insane. That'd be awful. When Krishna was fighting with Kaliya, Mother Yashoda exclaimed, quote, Krishna is now entrapped within the hoods of the Kaliya snake, and yet I am not tattered to pieces. So I must admit how wonderful the preserving power of this. I must admit how wonderful is the preserving power of this material body. End quote. This is another instance of lamentation in ecstatic love. Next section is anger. When Kutila, the sister of Abhimanyu, so Abhimanyu is Radharani's husband, so Kutila is her sister-in-law, just to make that clear. When Kutila saw, the sister of Abhimanyu, saw Krishna wearing a necklace, she could understand that the jeweled ornament had been given to him by Radharani. She therefore became absorbed in anger and began to move her eyebrows, expressing her anger and ecstatic love. The next section is ghastliness. There is a statement by Yamunacharya to this effect, quote, since I have begun to enjoy these transcendental exchanges of love, which are always newer and newer, whenever I remember the pleasure of past sex life, my lips curl and I wish to spit on the idea, end quote. This is an instance of ecstatic love and ghastliness. The next section is dread. One old devotee said, quote, my dear Lord, when we are away from you, we become so anxious to see you again, and there is great misery in our lives. But then, when we do see you, there immediately comes the fear of separation. Under the circumstances, both when we see you and when we do not see you, we are subjected to different kinds of tribulation. End quote. This is an instance of a contradictory mixture of ecstatic love for Krishna. Such ecstatic love is palatable, and expert critics have compared such ecstatic love with a mixture of curd, sugar candy, and a little black pepper. The combined taste is very palatable. That's the recipe for sandesh, by the way, which is very palatable. The next chapter is chapter 34, the nectar of devotion. The particular type of ecstatic loving sentiment that develops within the heart of a particular devotee is considered to be vibhava, and the resultant manifestations, such as moving the eyebrows, fear, astonishment, and smiling, which have been explained herein before, are called anubhava. The different causes for developing anubhava and vibhava are called steady ecstasy or sanchari bhava. So in our, just an aside, in the Nectar of Devotion house there out in the water or on the water's edge, if you walk through the front door and go all the way back, there's a very large chart and it lists all of these different kinds of bhavas, anubhava, sanchari bhava. So you might want to just go look at that. Continue with this reading. Whenever there is a recitation of poetry or a dramatic play on the different pastimes of Krishna, the audience develops different kinds of transcendental loving service for the Lord. They enjoy different types of vibhava, anubhava, and sanchari bhava. All right, comments here. Oh, sorry, I missed all these comments. So Bhakti Mimula says that it was funny thinking of sex life was ghastly. Well, it wasn't that sex life was ghastly. It was just that he was experiencing this ecstasy of love for Krishna and just looked back on his former life and was thinking about all the things that he had done, and it was like, oh, that's just nothing in comparison. So that's what it was. Yes, he was experiencing the higher taste. But he experienced ghastliness, Bhaktivinoda says, because he was, I think the comparison was shocking. Yes, a terrible feeling, Bhaktivinoda says. And Greece says, I think I saw that before. It's, if you just walk all the way back, it does look like a tree. It's supposed to be a seedling. There's a little seed at the bottom, and it grows up and has leaves, and it shows all the different forms of ecstasy, and all the things that we've been discussing in the past couple of weeks are on that diagram. And maybe I'll post on the Bhaktiville Facebook page a link to that poster, because it's really informative if you want to see the different kinds and the relationships. So there's another more conversation going on here in chat. Greece says the ecstasy of being with Krishna must be far beyond sexual elation. And Kandita says material world sex is ghastly compared to pure love of God. And then she says, yes, Greece, that's true. And Bhakti says that's debatable, but not talked about in nice groups. Well, if we accept that these people have been there, done that, then we accept that that what they say is true. These people who are experiencing ecstasy. All right, so back to our reading. Good discussion, though. I like that. All right, so no one, while remaining on the material platform, should discuss these different descriptions of bhava and anubhava by quoting different statements of transcendental literatures. Such manifestations are displays of the transcendental pleasure potency of the Lord. One should simply try to understand that on the spiritual platform there are many varieties of reciprocal love. Such loving exchanges should never be considered to be material. In the Mahabharata Udyama Parva, it is warned that things which are inconceivable should not be subjected to arguments. Actually, the transactions of the spiritual world are inconceivable to us in our present state of life. Great liberated souls like Rupa Goswami and others have tried to give us some hints of transcendental activities in the spiritual world. But on the whole, these transactions will remain inconceivable to us at the present moment. Understanding the exchanges of transcendental loving service with Krishna is possible only when one is actually in touch with the pleasure potency of the Supreme Lord. In this connection, Sri Rupa Goswami gives an example of the clouds in the sky. The clouds in the sky arise from the ocean, and when the clouds become water again and fall to the ground, they glide back to the ocean. Similarly, the pleasure potency of Krishna is compared with the ocean. The pure devotee is the pleasure-possessing cloud, and when he is filled with transcendental loving service, then he can bestow his mercy as a downpour of rain, and the pleasure potency returns to the ocean of Krishna. I think this next section is too long for 1 minute. So we'll stop there, and I will post a link to that poster, so you can see all the different variety of bhava, and you can look at it and maybe even place yourself on the seedling. It is a seedling. It's supposed to be a representation of our spiritual creeper. So the seed is planted and then it grows and um, and then experience these different uh, kinds of bhava. Okay, so Kandita is asking a question. I have a loaded question. Can a purified jiva soul have sex with Lord Krishna? Yes. In the spiritual world, yes. All right, so but we're not there. This is this little section that we just read, that it's an inconceivable idea, and we'll really only understand it when we're in touch with the pleasure potency of Krishna. Good discussion. Lots of good points. All right, my friends, have a wonderful, wonderful week. We'll meet here again here in the Panchatattva Mandir for Bhakta Arkam Chimala. Welcome. Thank you. Good to see you. All right, my praise to Sheila Prabhupada. Thank you. Haribol.